And so folks that weren't able to join us will be able to see it later on. For those who don't know me, I'm Ginny Lupi. I'm the director of the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts, and we are very pleased that you've joined us today. With us on the call, in addition to our fabulous panel, I see Senator Shannon Chandley has joined us, which is great. And the chair of the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts, Roger Brooks, is also with us. We expect some other legislators may be joining us, and counselors too. And so as they appear, I will recognize them. So you know how this works. If you're not speaking, please keep yourself muted, and feel free to put questions into the chat, and we'll be monitoring the chat. Emily Killinger of our staff is here to handle tech, and we're very grateful for that assistance. So I'm going to start today by just giving you some background on our panelists. So David Macy is with us from MacDowell, and he serves as resident director of MacDowell's Artist Residency Program in Peterborough. And they deliver fellowships for 300 artists every year. David has directed new construction and renovations at MacDowell totaling more than 10 million since 1994, and established 2 ongoing public programs that have expanded MacDowell's regional impact: MacDowell in the Schools and MacDowell Downtown. David's volunteer efforts include board service with the Alliance of Artists Communities, Monadnock Arts Alive, and New Hampshire Citizens for the Arts before it became Arts for NH. An Ohio native, David earned his MS in Organization and Management from Antioch University, New England. Karla Hostetler has been the executive director of the Mariposa Museum for 8 years, guiding its shift from a museum of folk art to a museum that explores human society through the arts and through the lens of culture, identity, and forces that unite and divide people. Before coming to New Hampshire in 2012, she designed and directed economic development and culture-related initiatives in different parts of the world, living and working in the Eastern Caribbean for 9 years, Haiti for 5 years, and Central Asia for 2 years, with shorter stints in Africa, Russia, the Middle East, and Central America. She's been a contractor for USAID, the World Bank, and the Organization of American States, and UNESCO. And Karla, you and Marc Thayer need to talk with each other, and you will hear why in just a moment. Gail Moriarty has been the president of the Nashua International Sculpture Symposium since 2017. Gail is a custom jewelry designer who enjoys creating one-of-a-kind pieces of wearable art. Her specialty is designing and crafting custom pieces of jewelry commissioned by customers here in New Hampshire and across the country. Gail is also the managing partner at The Picker Artists, LLC, a multi-studio artist building in the Nashua Mill Yard, where she has her studio, and she's coming to us from her studio today. Deborah Shakespeare Thurber is the founder and director of Project Shakespeare. Prior to receiving her MA in theater education from Emerson College, Deborah served as executive director of the Public Theater in Boston. She's taught and directed at K-12 schools as well as colleges throughout Massachusetts and New Hampshire. In her 26 years with Project Shakespeare, Deborah has directed over 80 productions of Shakespeare plays and other classical and contemporary works, taught Shakespeare workshops in schools, and taken Project Shakespeare's productions of Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet to perform at the Royal Shakespeare Company's Outdoor Theater Festival at the Dell. And finally, Marc Thayer joined Symphony New Hampshire as executive director in 2016. He also serves as executive director of the Montrose School and Music Festival in Hancock, Maine. Previously, he was deputy director of the Association of American Voices, a cultural diplomacy NGO, taught for 10 summers for the U.S. Department of State for the American Arts Festival in Kurdistan, Northern Iraq, Beirut, and Bangkok, and served as cultural envoy for the U.S. Department of State in Liberia. Marc is a violinist who has performed with the Kingsbury Baroque, New World Symphony, and orchestras across the United States and Europe. He received bachelor's and master's degree from the Eastman School of Music. He's a member of the Nashua Arts Commission, on the board of Arts for NH, and is the New Hampshire coordinator for Americans for the Arts. So we are going to start off our presentations today with David Macy from MacDowell. Go ahead, David.
Thank you so much, Jenny. It's great to be here with everybody. I think that we've all been in coping mode for 8 months. So I will skip a lot of the interim sort of the March chaos that everybody remembers a little too well, and try and just give a sense of what we've done to try and get back to our core mission, which is supporting artists in the creation of new work. In April, we spent a lot of time doing financial planning and trying to figure out what it was going, the estimating the impact. In May, we decided to, or we took a tally of votes from the board and got a commitment to keep all staff employed through the end of the year. And in June, we redeployed staff from housekeeping and kitchen and the front office into maintenance and garden departments so that we could keep up the program, keep staff employed, doing good work for MacDowell while we weren't hosting artists. The last artist departed March 22nd. And actually on October 21st, that is this Wednesday, we will have our first cohort of artists arriving for residency. We spent July, August, and some of September making a reopening plan. I worked with primarily first with the operations staff. We spent a lot of time talking about what is and isn't possible. I spoke with local medical folks from the Monadnock Community Hospital and Hearthside Family Health, and also engaged a past MacDowell fellow, Ricardo Nuela, who is an internist at Baylor's Teaching Hospital in Houston, since he was familiar both with our physical setup and with the culture of the organization, and he was a medical doctor. He was an invaluable resource in testing what protocols we would need to put into place in order to safely reopen and welcome artists back to MacDowell. Also through the summer, we recognized that while our residency program was necessarily dormant, there was, obviously the artists who are our core constituency were being, I think there was a report out that about 90% of artists, excuse me, had lost a majority of their income during the closures associated with the global pandemic. And so we organized a virtual forum of MacDowell, which, while we couldn't deliver the sense of community and connection that comes with sitting down to eat meals together, and we couldn't provide studio space here in the beautiful woods of New Hampshire, what we could do is bring artists together in conversation and to connect them. So we organized, as a pilot program, 8 artists were invited to participate. Each of the artists got a modest stipend to help free up their time to participate. And there were gatherings twice a week, each week for a month, in which the artists got to know more about MacDowell, got to know each other, got to compare notes on what they were doing, whether it was how they were using the time in the studio or how they were coping with the stresses wrought by the sudden changes. In September, we set out email to some 54, I believe, of the artists who had been scheduled to come for residencies in the spring, and those residencies were either curtailed or canceled. Of those, we heard back from 34 who said that they were very interested in a fellowship if it could be arranged in this fall into early winter. And so we've scheduled artists to come in just to occupy the live-in studios at MacDowell, so that every artist will have their own sort of standalone facility. And upon arrival, they'll go directly into self-isolation. They'll be to get a COVID test, and after assuming all the tests come back negative, at that point they'll have full use of MacDowell's facilities. Well, partial use of MacDowell's facilities. We're not able to offer communal breakfasts and dinners, so all the food will be delivered to the studios. But they will have assigned seats in the James Baldwin Library. And they will be able to, the library actually has an outdoor fireplace, which I think is going to become a very important social nexus in the weeks ahead. And we have plans actually to put a large screen television in the window of the library, put chairs outside the library, and a very large fire in the fireplace for November 3rd to give people someplace to gather on a night no one should be alone. I guess I would say that one of the challenges we had in having closed down March 22nd was we hadn't had that many fellows through the program yet. And we actually award 10 NEA fellowships every year. Just having done the math recently with our grants and fellowship committee, I recognize that we do in fact have 10 first-time fellows who will be named for NEA fellowships this year, for which we are very appreciative. And you also this is a big week for MacDowell. We open on Wednesday, and tonight is our national benefit, which is entirely virtual. And I can post a link in the chat for anyone who's interested in participating in that. It's this evening. It's going to include the first awarding of the Marion Nevins MacDowell Arts Award, and that will go to Ava DuVernay and her company Array. So I think that is a roundup of a few months of sort of frenetic activity, despite the so-called. I haven't been home baking bread. I guess that's all I would say. There's been plenty to do.
Thank you so much, David. Much appreciated. And I look forward to getting the link and joining in the party tonight. Next up, Karla Hostetler from Mariposa Museum, also in Peterborough.
Thanks, Ginny, and thanks everybody. The Mariposa, as Ginny explained, is a museum and performance center and education center that explores world cultures and also American experience and history through the arts and through the lens of diversity and inclusion. We've operated in Peterborough for 2 decades, and in 2019, we were really excited to open a seasonal branch in Oak Bluffs on Martha's Vineyard that focuses more on the American experience. And every month, the museum here in New Hampshire presents exhibits and public programs, educational outreach to senior centers and to libraries. And we also manage traveling exhibits that go outside of New Hampshire, around the country. So this year, when the pandemic hit, we closed in mid-March, and we've stayed closed through most of August. We did open in Oak Bluffs on the summer because the season is so short, and it was a case of you either open or you close for good. We were in a really pivotal year, so we opened very cautiously. We were more cautious in New Hampshire, and we also took steps to change plans that limited the interaction of staffs between the two states. So we've done a lot of sidestepping there that also incurred some costs for us, unexpected expenses, but feel good about that. We were really grateful to be in the first wave of the PPP funding, which helped us sustain our payroll. We, in collaboration with our staff, we did furlough 2 people and refocus some of those monies on staff people who could help us during the short term and offering remote programs. Zoom tech was a big one. We've also focused some time on facilities and on our website, and doing our best to stay connected with our audience through virtual programs. But for sure, the loss of income was pretty big for us because we rely, we also have, I should mention, we've received a loan through the CARES Act, which has been really helpful in providing working capital, although we're trying really hard not to touch that as much as we can. We're grateful to receive a grant from the New Hampshire Humanities Council, and most recently from NEFA, a NEAR grant, which is really exciting for us. So that has taken some of the anxiety out. Our local donors have also been really loyal and generous this year. I think we're all thinking of this more in the short term though, and what will happen how generous people can continue to be and how much we can rely on the additional grant support just will remain to be seen. But we're trying, with some of the anxiety off of the plate, we're just doing our best now to serve our audience. And so we opened in late August with Frida Kahlo's Garden, which was an exhibit from National Endowment for the Arts, or for the Humanities on the Road program. And as you saw in those photos that Ginny shared, it's a panel exhibit, so it offered some partitioning that helps people stay distanced. The museum is also really spacious. It's on 3 floors, and so it's fairly easy for people to stay apart from each other. We did close the inventing room and some of our high touch exhibits, which mostly impacted our family market. So that was significant for us. Those are puppet theaters, musical instruments that people can play, costumes to try on. So that hurts a bit, and more than a bit. And it's meant that our audience has really shifted from families to adults. And we've offered some more remote programming, and right now we're working on doing a deeper dive with some of our presenters for education programs. So we're doing recorded programs for schools that everybody can actually take part in, exploring civil rights history, making art at home, things that we really couldn't do at this level when in a short field trip, so we're trying to see the opportunities. And we've also discovered a silver lining through Zoom programs, being able to unite our audience. We have a sort of rapidly scaled up an audience on Martha's Vineyard that comes from throughout the country, very heavily focused in New England. And through Zoom programs, we've been able to introduce that audience to our museum here in New Hampshire, which I think is going to pay off in the long term in building visitors to New Hampshire. But right now we're down. Our earned income revenues really are down. Once they resumed about 65%, and we really rely on those a lot for our income. So we're kind of on the edge of our seat for what's coming down the pike with vaccines and also support in the longer term. So that's about it.
Thank you so much, Karla. Next up, Gail Moriarty from the Nashua International Sculpture Symposium.
Okay, so thank you everyone. Thank you, Ginny. Very happy to be here today. The Nashua International Sculpture Symposium, it is quite a mouthful. We are a 501c nonprofit through the state of New Hampshire. Very happy to be here. Usually our program runs in May, and it's one of those things, it's a 3-week event. We invite international sculptors to the city to create amazing pieces of art that we install in public spots all over the city in city-owned land. So usually we work on it all year long. And so, you know, by March, because it's in May every year, by March, we're well in the way. We have our sculptors all chosen and their contracts are out and their visas are coming through. And we had someone from Belgium and someone from New Zealand. And so we thought we were set to go. And then, of course, everything shuts down. So one Saturday, I didn't know what to, I was kind of on pause, and I happened to be outside of my building because I also own the Picker Artist, and I was getting some PPE supplies, and the mayor walked by. We had a nice conversation. I said, do you want me to quit? And he said, nope, we are the only city in the country that has an international sculpture symposium, and this is our 13th year, and it's very important, and everyone's shutting down, and we knew we had to do something. So he said, just take a breath and let's just not cancel, but pause. So of course we had to tell our international sculptors that we pretty sure that wasn't going to happen for them all year, at all this year. So by May, I'm thinking and, you know, pondering this, thinking his words kind of hit home. We have to do this. Art is important. Art is healing. Art is for everyone. And it's huge. Art is huge in the community. And so I thought, I have to figure this out. So I called Bobby Bagley. She is our director of health and community services. And we had a first of many very long Zoom meetings, and I described that the first thing we do is it's all community based. So the community houses our sculptors in their house. They make food and bring food every day for 3+ weeks to the site. They sit and eat with them. They come and visit them. We take them places. They go to restaurants. They meet the public. And lots of times if they don't speak English, we have interpreters that are here, people that are local that speak the language that are very happy to help out. So we thought, okay, so how are we going to redo this? So 5 pages of protocols later, we figured it out. And so but the problem is we still had a huge challenge. Now she said that we have to house them in hotels. Well, there aren't any hotels that could afford to give us discounted rates, never mind 4 rooms for 3+ weeks. So then as far as meals, we always have the local families make their meals for 2 meals a day and bring them here. And now we can't do that. They have to be commercially prepared restaurants. How are we going to do that? We can't afford this. So we talked to all the restaurants and decided that for the restaurants, we had a plan. It was $52 a day in the restaurant for lunch. And the restaurant would make 4 lunches for our 3 sculptors and our artistic director. And they could make whatever they had. They didn't have to be off the menu, so they could use up ingredients, and it was more cost effective. And then for dinner, it was $72. So I found 12 restaurants that were very happy to help us with that. And the benefit of that is we're also supporting our restaurants who were challenged. So we decided to do it in the end of August, gave us enough time to plan, August into September. With all these protocols, I went back to the mayor and we discussed it in detail, and he thought it was safe and we were ready to go. So then our next problem was housing, because usually they would stay with local, people, and the hotels were all, it was going to cost us, $7,000 to house them. Well, we're a shoestring budget. We are supported by the community. We don't have that kind of funding, but we thought if they self-quarantine, they get tested before they come. We had 3 wonderful families that were very, very happy to take them in. So that solved that problem for us. And then the work site, because we have it at the Picker Artist, and it's our building and my building, and we can figure it out. So we figured out how to do it very safely, social distancing and lots of masks and lots of hand sanitizer. So I was going to share the presentation to show you as we can talk and walk along. That's okay. Can you see this? Can anyone see the?
Okay, Gail, you need to share your screen
Right.
and
On the bottom.
give you options of what on your screen you want to share.
Okay, so I would find the share your screen
At the bottom of the Zoom screen, it's
share screen.
When you do that, also, as you pick which screen you're going to use, do you see bottom left a share computer audio?
Yes.
If you check that, if you're playing a video, we will hear the sound. Otherwise, we don't.
Okay.
Yep.
So what I do, it wouldn't be whiteboard. It would be, it's not basic.
whatever program the images are in on your computer.
Okay, so it's a PDF, so it would be in Acrobat.
Probably, yeah.
I don't see it showing, so maybe I should.
You already have it open?
Yes.
Yes. So if you hit the screen share, it should show you all the windows you have open on your computer. You hit the green screen share, it'll pop up another window and it will have all the windows open on your computer. You select the one you like or you want to share and check that bottom left, share computer audio.
So I'm showing everyone in the world that I'm a middlesmith. I'm certainly not a computer person. By any means. Okay, so can you see?
It's up, yes.
Yay! So this is my yearbook, and these are our 3 local sculptors. So because we had to pick local, we had to pick 3 local sculptors that could drive and not fly, obviously. So this is Taylor Apostle. She lives in Massachusetts. And then we have Kelly Cave. She lives in Philadelphia. And we have Elijah Ober, who lives in Maine. We also have Jim Larson. He is our artistic director. So we have, for the first time in our 13 years, we have young kids as well as local kids. And they're all sculptors in their own right. They're all very talented sculptors. And they all graduated with degrees and are working sculptors. And so we have dedications. These are some of our dedications. But this is our opening celebration. We had to do it quite differently. Usually we have a wonderful, huge opening celebration, invite a couple hundred people. And we usually, profit at least $6,000 or so that we desperately need for funding. Well, this year, obviously, we couldn't do that whatsoever. So we had an extremely small opening right here at the building. And we only invited a few people, the sculptors, and this is Taylor. He does the video for Access Nashua TV. And these are our beautiful board members helping us out. But you can see it was very small. It was myself, the mayor, Kate Lesko, who is the president of our chamber, and then our board members. And of course, everyone is masked. And staying safe and socially distanced, including our sculptors. These are our wonderful host families. They were gracious enough to open the houses up to us, even though we had the virus. And, without them, there is no way we could have done this. Absolutely no way. These are more board members and guests that came to our symposium. We were lucky enough to be on Access Television and on the radio with Bobby Bagley. This is Jim Larson, our artistic director. He and I were on TV as far as the radio, talking about how we would keep this safe. We have visitors. We have this little girl, Elena, who's been coming since 2018, and she's health compromised. She has to wear masks, and everybody does. But just because we promoted how safe we were and how we were being careful, her mother felt really comfortable enough to bring her often. So we were very lucky to have her here. Installation, work site pictures. These are everyone working in our building. The sculptors, they have to wear masks anyway. So that's not to stay safe, that's not a challenge for them. But it was a challenge. We didn't have the people that could come like usual to watch. We didn't have any of the events that we usually have. We take them to dinner. We take them around the city on Sundays. They go out and tour the city, and we had to keep them local. We had to keep them in the building, so they pretty much worked 7 days a week. The installation site is at our Mine Falls Park. You can see here, this is some of Taylor's pieces. She made some white marble pine cones this year. And so it was very different. We got really, I would say, lucky. We have an amazing community in Nashua who not only sponsored our three sculptures, but they stepped up and they provided the lunch and the dinner for the $52 and $72. They went on the website and they paid to, if they didn't feel comfortable coming, they still went on the website and paid the money and supported us by feeding these sculptures of ours. And then I would go pick up the dinner and bring it to them. So it was very challenging. It was very weird and different, but also very important that me to just really put out there to the public and to everyone that art is extremely important. I know everyone said, well, it's not an essential business. So, well, it's not first level essential, but I think art is extremely essential. If we had a life without art, I mean, think about it. Think about having no art. We really don't want to. So it was really extremely important to me to get out the healing of, okay, we're all going through this. We're all going through this together. We can figure this out. We can figure out how to have this amazing, amazing event that we do every year, that we are the only city in the country that does it. We can do it safely, we can do it distance, and we can get it funded. And we got really lucky. Thank God we have the State Council for the Arts that we got a grant. Thank God we got one from the Nashua Arts Commission. We got our three sculptors sponsored. That's not $9,000. So we have a $27,000 budget, and it's a small shoestring budget because it's only a 3-week event. But we made it this year. We made it happen, and I'm very thankful to the community. And you can see all the thank yous that we have for donations. And we have just this one person, Crystal Manning. She works at one of the Home Depots in Merrimack, and she went to her boss. She asked me if I'd write a letter to support us with PPE. So I wrote a letter and gave it to her, and she brought it to her boss, and she got us tons of PPE equipment. She got us masks and gloves and hand sanitizers and wipes. And it was awesome of her to do that for us. We have people that just came by and just gave me checks and gave me money and said, here, you guys need to feed them. So we want to help out. So we got really lucky, and we have a great, great community. So we just hope we don't have to do this too much more often. And then that's it.
It's wonderful, Gail. And I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but for those who don't know, this project is entirely operated by volunteers.
Yes, it is.
Which is incredibly important, with a terrific public-private partnership with the city.
Yeah, exactly.
It's terrific. Thank you so much. So next up is Deborah Shakespeare Thurber from Project Shakespeare. And Deborah, I think what I'll do is I'm going to share my screen and start off with a little video montage. And so I am going to do that. I'm going to share my sound. I'm going to, and let me just grab that. And I think it's all queued up.
When shall we three meet again?
And that is it for our 26th summer season. Again, please go to projectshakespeare.org to see what other things we will try to concoct in this crazy upside-down world. Thank you all very much for your support. Stay safe, stay well, and good night.
Okay, we are back.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel.
Project Shakespeare is a theater education program. Started 26 years ago as my thesis project when I was getting my master's at Emerson College. And since moving to the Monadnock area in 2007, we have expanded from a summer program doing Shakespeare every summer. We were in Boston, we were in Nashua, and then moved to here. And now we're year round, which I always find amazing that in the smallest community that I have done this program, we found it's a smaller pool of students, yet the need is so much more here and the support is so great here that we literally some years do a project every month. So there's that kind of need and appreciation and support, which really spoke to what to do when March 13th, everything closed down. We had just finished a production of Little Women that we did with Franklin Pierce University, who hosts us. And because, oh, there's my cast from Macbeth. Because we are a very small organization, I don't have a building that I have to support. I don't have a year-round staff I have to support. So in that way, we could take a pause, if you will, to figure out what to do. And I really got a kick in the butt from Andy Summer Playhouse. I looked at their virtual program and went, oh my gosh, this is so creative. And he talked about, Jared, their director, talked about the need in the community. And I went, yes, there is. That this is a time when arts organizations, if you if you financially can, it's time for us to step up and do the right thing for our community, for our students. And so thank you, Jared, because he really was the impetus to do something. So I got together with my two associate directors, Christopher Commander, who is based in Birmingham, England, and then Sarah Wendy Berman, who is a Wellesley College student. Both have been with Project Shakespeare for several years, and they put together a 4-week virtual class, Speak the Speech, Shakespeare through the History Plays. We had 20 students sign up, 16 made it all the way through, because by the time we did this in June, students were beginning to get a little Zoom out because of school. And so 16 did this, and they learned about all the history plays. They did the really deep dive into scenes and monologues, and then they performed that virtually. So that was June. This is not my media. I am not comfortable in front of camera and Zoom and all of this, which you probably can tell from this. So I went, what can I do? And I have a tennis court, which may seem like a strange jumping off point, but because I have this tennis court that I've never used on our property since we moved here, I could box it off into 6-foot squares. I could ask the students to wear masks. I could demand that they wear masks, stay socially distanced, have hand sanitizer. They couldn't share anything. They couldn't even carpool together. So I put it out to my students. Luckily too, we have students that come back year after year after year. So the students know each other, the families know each other, and there's a trust. And because at the beginning, if you remember, we were all really scared about this. And the last thing I wanted to do was bring students to my tennis court on my property and have someone get sick. So people got tested, some housed together after being tested. They didn't share rides. We didn't share props. We had minimal costumes, t-shirts, jeans, costume pieces, as you saw in that clip. And I also hired students, former students, to do stage combat, to be a stage manager, to be a mentor actor. And then I had a parent who came and taped it all, because we realized this is hopefully a once in a lifetime production, right? We're not going to do this again, we didn't think. So I didn't know if we'd even get past the first day. I thought for sure, teenagers, they're always glomming onto each other. And we did 2-hour sessions because I didn't have a bathroom for them. We had woods that they could go into. So but they did it, and they did it terrifically, and they were very safe, and they kept the masks on, and they kept distance, and they didn't share food. And so 3 weeks later, we had a show. We performed it at 4 public parks. Well, Aldworth Manor in their area where they do weddings. It was beautiful. In Jaffrey Center, on the lawn in front of the meeting house. At the Dublin Community Church, they have a lawn in the back, this beautiful garden. And then we ended at Cathedral of the Pines. One of the reasons I could do this as well, because I wanted to do this, besides being a health issue, this is also a financial issue for everyone. So this year, there was no tuition charged. Everything was free for students, and there was no admission charge. Everything is free for people to come see this. So here who I have to thank for that: the Putnam Foundation, the Oleana Jameson Trust, the Agnes Lindsay Trust, the Jaffrey Ringe Rotary, and then our individual contributors who gave very generously, which meant that we could do this. And at the time, I think we were the first that I know of in New Hampshire that was doing live theater. The audience, I did reservations. They had to be masked. They had to be social distance. They had to have a reservation so I could keep it to 50 people. And we did it. No one got sick. And the need for community, the need for connection was so important this year that it really did seem like the right thing to do for arts organizations. Someone talked about arts being important. It is essential. It's, long when this is over, people are going to know about this time period by the art that is created, by the plays that are created, by the sculptures that are created, because everything is informed. And we did the play Macbeth. Our first rehearsal, we really talked about how is the pandemic informing this play? The fact that you're isolated when you're in wartime, the fact that you're very fearful in wartime. We talked about Macbeth being the virus. You don't want to get too close to Macbeth because you end up dead. So we made those connections, and it really informed their work. So then on October 3rd, students wanted to do more. So we did a one night only staged reading called In Their Own Words, Finding Agency Through Shakespeare. Students wrote their own monologue about how they were feeling during this pandemic and or the social justice component, which we're not even talking about in this meeting. But I had students very concerned about this, especially a 9-year-old. And he wrote about, how can I trust the police? How can I trust this? He was very fearful. And then we mirrored it with a Shakespeare monologue or more. So they found their agency through using Shakespeare's text. And so this particular little boy, he talked about Black Lives Matter and all of that. And then he did Portia from The Merchant of Venice about the quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. And we had students in that were as young as 7 to 18. So those are the things that we were able to do safely outdoors. And I'm very fortunate that I live on a property that has acreage that I could bring them to my tennis court or to our fields, and we could perform. We're going back virtual next for our Christmas Carol. So, but the neat thing about the virtual, and again, I got this from Andy's Summer Playhouse, and someone else touched on this. You can bring voices in that aren't in the area. So I can have my director who's stuck in England participate. I can have former Project Shakespeare students who are in Los Angeles doing theater participate. I have students who've moved away and they were able to participate. So there are advantages to this virtual, and I think the lessons and the things that we learn through this virtual time will inform our work, will inform all of our work going forward. So thank you.
Wonderful, Deborah. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have been so impressed with what you've been able to do and what Jared has been doing at Andy's in that virtual space. And so we look forward to seeing A Christmas Carol virtually this year. Thank you so much. And now, last but not least, we have Marc Thayer from Symphony, New Hampshire.
Hi, morning. Thanks for the invitation, and I'm happy to be part of this discussion. It's great to hear from everybody else. I may be one of the newer people in the group. I've been in Nashua for 4 years, and to move here and learn about programs like the Sculpture Symposium, it's an incredible program. You see the results of their work all over town. And then to get to know Ginny and the State Arts Council, can't thank you enough for all the work you do, especially this year. And I want to also thank Senator Chandley for all of her work and time spent with the statewide arts community this spring and summer and fall and representing us. I wish I could vote for you, but it's been a huge help to everyone statewide and helped us to realize how rich the state is. I didn't know the arts community as much as I do now, or as many people from all over the state, and thanks to many discussions all summer with the Arts Council and other government groups. So we appreciate what the state's done for all of us this year, and an especially difficult year. Just like for everybody, we had a terrific concert on March 7 and March 9, a big event announcing exciting plans for our new season. And a week later, a letter from the city of Nashua, which owns the building where our offices are, telling us the building would be closed for 2 weeks. Remember when we all thought it would be 2 weeks? And we haven't heard from them since. But it's been a similar difficult situation for everybody, and March was scary, and I am one to look for silver linings. So these 8 months have been obviously a challenge and have really brought people together working hard to figure this out and figure out how to survive. 10 years ago, there were 3 what I would call professional orchestras in New Hampshire that audition and pay all their musicians and put on a professional season. And within the past 10 years, 2 of them have disappeared. We're the only ones left that function the way most professional organizations function. And that was before the COVID pandemic. And I don't take it for granted. Most cities the size of Nashua or communities in southern New Hampshire don't have orchestras. That's true all over the country. And we are 2 years away from our 100th anniversary. So we're proud of our history and working hard to survive and be here another 100 years. And so thanks to the entire community and the region for us still being here and surviving the past 10 years and the recession in 2008, let alone this year. It's just been a challenging period of time for arts everywhere across the country. But we have a terrific board, a terrific group of supporters, and an audience base that wants us here. And in March, I couldn't say for sure, but now I'm happy to say that we will survive and have worked very hard all summer to be sure of that. This year, we announced plans for the season 3 times as things kept changing and evolving. And we will see a probably 85 to 90% change in ticket sales this year, which is a lot for us. And so we're obviously going to rely on charitable giving this year and other types of support. So we are incredibly grateful to the Arts Council, the state of New Hampshire, the Charitable Foundation, and other local foundations and individual donors that have gotten us through this year and will help us the next 2 years and as long as it takes. We did decide this summer, as challenging as the situation was, I thought, and our board agreed, this was the time to take on a large fundraising project. and one of the few times in our history when the fundraising goal should be for the organization, for operations, for the survival of the orchestra, rather than for specific education or community programs or specific projects and initiatives that we normally would fundraise for. We made a goal of raising $100,000 over the summer, and the board really came through not just with gifts, but with making phone calls and reaching out to the community and finding new donors and supporters who really want the orchestra here and want us to continue the work that we're doing. And we achieved that goal the first week of October, which was supposed to be our first concert, and rain prevented that from happening. We had planned our first substantial concert, which would have included 15 musicians and our new music director in Greeley Park in Nashua. And of course, the one day it decides to give us much needed rain meant we couldn't have a rehearsal that day. So we'll postpone and do that later in the year. But we have managed to do a bunch of small ensemble programs this fall outside in various venues, some public venues and some private homes. We had one yesterday in someone's backyard in Hollis, and are presenting events with 4 and 5 or 10 and 12 musicians. When it became apparent that our large concert hall in Nashua would not be available all year because it's owned by the public schools and everything's closed, we had to scramble again and decide, what are we going to do this season? Are we going to follow the route some orchestras have taken in other cities and cancel the entire season? What are we going to do? And it's important to me, important to our board, and our musicians are so eager to perform and participate that we decided we would do as many smaller events this year, small ensembles and smaller venues, and stay active and stay in the community's view, so that each month we are doing at least one program with 10 or 12 musicians with our conductor, and then a number of smaller community events with 4 and 5 musicians. And we're calling it a year of giving back to our community. A lot of these programs will be free of charge. A lot of them will be in support of other nonprofit organizations in the area, and giving back to people that have supported us so well for many years. We have for many years developed and presented quite a few education programs and community programs with other arts and other nonprofit organizations in the region. We've done a lot of work with the Adult Learning Center, which supports and provides services to immigrants and refugees in the area, and we will continue working with them in different ways. We do monthly events at retirement communities, and we're able to do that now somewhat, sometimes live, sometimes outside, and sometimes over their closed circuit TV systems in-house. We're doing a program on October 23rd at one of the hospitals in Nashua, which is a concert just for healthcare workers and staff at the hospital. Again, free of charge, just a gift to the community and a way of thanking them for all their work. And a year ago, we started a wonderful program with the hospice organization in Merrimack and Nashua, and working with families and patients in the hospice home and in other facilities. And that's on hold right now. We hope we're able to get back to that soon. The hospice organization is working out how they present live or online programs for their families, but we'll get that started as soon as they're ready and able to do that. So it's been a strange year, but our donor base, our local community, our state agencies have really come through and been huge supporters this year. And it's been a good opportunity for us to really examine the organization's priorities. What is our mission? How should we be involved in the community? What is our relationship with the community? And I really believe that if we didn't already have a strong relationship with the community, with our donors, with our other corporate and foundation supporters, they wouldn't have come through this year and helped us as much as they have. So that's obviously very much a priority for us, those relationships with all of the individuals involved. During the fundraising campaign this summer, one of our wonderful donors who's not on our board, decided to challenge our board and said she would match any new gifts and increase in giving that our board presented this summer. And she came through with an additional $7,500 on top of her substantial annual gift, which was a great kick in the pants for our board and really got them motivated as well. We're also using the year to go through a strategic planning process, or begin the process, looking at not just the next couple of years, but the 100th anniversary and beyond. We're working on a 5-year plan and really talking about what should we be doing in this community, what's sustainable, what budget is sustainable, and how should we be involved and active in the community. What's important to our community. You know, I could sit and plan concerts all day of music that I want to hear and programs that I want to present, but that doesn't mean anybody else wants to hear it or would buy a ticket to come see it. We are talking to the community. How should we be involved, and why has the orchestra survived for 97 years? And how do we continue to be relevant? We're also, as a couple of other people have said, you know, kicking and screaming and figuring out how to use the internet and be available online. And we will begin streaming concerts in November and seeing if anyone wants to come to a concert live. We will have some concerts for small audiences, depending on the venue, but we'll also be available to stream concerts online and view them from home. And right now we're figuring out best ways of doing that, how to sell tickets to view at home, what platform to use, and looking for funding for new equipment, lights, cameras, etc. We're doing a concert in a hotel ballroom, and later on in a large old Gothic church, and the acoustic and light issues are completely the opposite in both venues. So we have to figure out how to present them online. And in an era when we have the most incredible and advanced audio capability, stereo systems, recording studios, we all sit at home listening to music on our lousy laptop or $5 headphones. So how we present our music and sound quality as well as picture quality that represents what our musicians are capable of doing is another issue. So we're working on that. But there have been silver linings, and just connecting with people who care about the organization and other organizations that want to work with us and partner to make sure we all survive and thrive together has really been rewarding. It's kept us all energized and made us all realize, you know, whatever keeps happening this year, and as things change, we've got to be flexible, we've got to adapt, and people want us there. This state is better than most, recognizing the importance of the arts to the economy, the importance of the arts in each community. And I am so impressed with the Arts Council, the state, and Arts for New Hampshire, and how people have come together and decided this is important and this has to continue and has to exist here. That's why people want to live here. So I'm grateful to be part of this community, and I'm very optimistic about the future, thanks to Ginny and Senator Chanley and many of you.
Thank you, Marc. Thank you so much. And so now we can open it up for questions, and we have a small group today, and so feel free. You can unmute if you want to, and if you have any questions, feel free to just kind of pop up and ask. And that goes for the panel too. If you have questions for each other, please feel free to jump in. And of course, everyone's quiet. That's the way it works, right? You know,
I hear about everybody.
I do have a question for all of you. You've talked about how your constituents and your funders have responded so positively to this crisis. in 2020. And I know Marc said, he's feeling very optimistic for the future. I'm wondering how you're feeling about 2021 and how your fundraising might be affected. This is something obviously that we're very concerned about as we go into this next year of this, and also into the state's next biennium. And so I'm curious about how you're feeling about 2021, and how and what you're working on that may be different from how you approached your fundraising in the early part of this crisis. So anybody want to jump in, feel free.
Sure, I'd like to speak up. My name is Gail Bloom, and I've recently can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. I've recently taken over as president of the Andres Institute in Brookline.
Terrific.
And yeah, and we've had, we've had a trouble with our money stream because we had to close down the visitor center. But what we did this year for the Iron Melt, which is always successful, is to make it, instead of having the classes and have everybody create their art together in John Weidman's studio, we went remote. So our numbers went from 65 last fall to 135 this spring. And this fall, we just completed about 196 boxes that are going up to the foundry in Elliott, Maine for the iron pour. So people have really enjoyed the idea of taking the scratch boxes home to create the art with their family and grandma, or, and just having a party around making the scratch boxes for us to pour the iron in. So that's really exciting to see how we adapted and people were ready to go with us, because it seems a very endeared community event in Brookline and the surrounding areas. Originally, I was involved in the Fitchburg art scene for about 20 years. So I'm new here and trying to find out who's who and what everybody is doing. So I'm certainly enjoying this program and familiarizing myself with you all, and hoping to get in deeply, as I was in Fitchburg, through the Cultural Alliance and the college and, Stratton Theater, all the wonderful things that we do have in Fitchburg. So hi, everybody, and thank you for listening to me.
Welcome, Gail. Welcome to New Hampshire and to our extraordinary arts community. Reach out directly to the Arts Council, and we can provide you with some resources and connections. So
thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else want to jump in with the answer to that question? Oh wait, Roger's waving his hand.
I just wanted to thank everybody for your creativity. You are the entrepreneurs that are leading New Hampshire, for being so articulate, and I want to commend Marc for his leadership on Arts for New Hampshire. He is also as Jenny mentioned, the key state person for Americans for the Arts. And if any of you are not familiar with Americans for the Arts, they are our national advocacy organization. And the MacDowell colony sends a representative to Arts Day every year, sometimes two people, and we really appreciate their contributions. And so, Arts Day is a wonderful day in Washington, D.C., where we meet our congressional delegations, and we get briefed on everything that is of interest from state level to national level. So I want to encourage all of you to keep connected through Arts for New Hampshire, Arts for America and American and Arts for New Hampshire. So thank you.
Jenny, I'd try to reply to your question, and thanks, Roger, for saying all of that. I second that. Please join Arts for New Hampshire and check out what Americans for the Arts are doing. It's a very important organization. you're asking what are our concerns next year in 2021. And I'd say one of the biggest challenges is the way information we're all receiving keeps changing, and that's nobody's fault. It's just we keep learning more and things evolve and change. And this time of year, I should be planning next season, and we're still figuring out December and January, let alone the rest of the season. But that's fine. We have to be flexible. I'm even more concerned about, more than financial things next year, I'm more concerned about people's behavior. And as things get colder and we move inside, I'm concerned about people being tired of or feeling like it's over and not following the rules, as they say, and the pandemic growing again the way it is already. And we've tried very hard to organize programs that a small number of people can attend in person, and now our board's debating if we can even do that, or if everything should go online now because of the way the virus is growing again, the numbers are growing again, and people aren't following the recommendations. So can we even present a live event now? Financially, it's hard to plan because first we thought this was 2 weeks and we thought it was going to be over by January, and now we know it's not. And we don't know what to plan next season, let alone this year. When will audiences feel comfortable coming back in mass? You know, my ticket goals are $1,000 or 1,000 people per concert. And right now we don't know if we'd get 100 people. So those are the concerns. When can we expect any ticket revenue again? How long can we survive on charitable giving? And for that reason, we're being extremely frugal now, keeping costs as low as possible, and very grateful to people's generosity, but that may not continue for the next 12 or 24 months. We don't know.
Yeah.
The unknown is probably the most difficult, frightening aspect of this, and there's no other year to base this on. So planning is completely conjecture at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you are obviously not alone there. I see that Senator Chandley has her hand up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ginny. And thank you to everyone for being on this Zoom. Thank you, Marc, for your really kind words. It's been a pleasure to work with the arts community and to be a voice when we are having discussions around arts reopening. I've learned so much, and I've been moved, even listening to the way that everyone has responded to the challenges on this Zoom. It's amazing. I am concerned about the future for the same reasons that Marc mentioned about certain upticks in COVID, but I also think we have another challenge. Even if the virus, let us say it stays steady for a bit, and we have the ability to reopen or to serve more people, there's something else that I think is preventing audiences from coming in, patrons and audiences from coming into the facilities. And it's, I don't know that it has a name yet, but it's kind of that doubling down on isolation that I think is happening. So I would certainly look to the arts community to be able to meet that challenge. And I hope I'm clear about what I mean, but I think that when we've all gotten in the habit of staying home, and that may be making us more in the habit of staying home. For some folks, there are folks who will get tired of staying home and maybe go out, but I think there are others who will not venture out, even to settings where things may be safer than other places. So it's just something I'm thinking about going forward and trying to think about how we will approach that as a community. Certainly budget issues are first and foremost in all of our minds, whether it's looking at individual business budgets or our state budget, but I think there are also other challenges that are less easily defined. So thank you for doing this for me, for all of us here today. It's been really informative.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Karla, Deborah, jump in.
Okay. I think for us, like because we're okay through the end of the year, probably financially, we're really, this is the time to focus on the impact and why we're here and how we can serve and being part of this moment in history. Our next exhibit is Freedom Songs, and it's coming, we had it on this summer, and it really looks at the African-American history and touching base with what's going on now in the country and getting people involved in creatively in that exploration. So it's, right now we're really conscious of the seriousness of the times, not only from COVID, but from the upcoming elections, from people's concerns about and feeling of helplessness about what's going on around the country, and wanting at a time that we're really isolated to connect more than ever with some of these issues. So I think, we have to have faith that if we are impactful and we can stay connected and do good work, that all of our elected officials and our supporters and members are going to see the value and support us going forward.
Absolutely. Thank you. Deborah.
I just wanted to add, being outdoors is certainly where my safe space is. So I'm already looking at next year, and I'm thinking about next year and what we're doing outside. I'm looking at how I learned what we did this summer, especially because I do Shakespeare, in terms of language, in terms of the physicality. How can I build on what I learned this year that we had to do because of the given circumstances of the pandemic? And how can I strengthen my storytelling with it? The choice of plays. I'm looking to do Trojan Women in April outdoors. I'm looking to do maybe Merchant of Venice. I'm looking to do Midsummer Night's Dream, because you do definitely want some comedy in there. But what the students bring to it and the physicality, and I think in terms of the arts, what they're going to learn about processing this time going forward is just going to be so core and important. We're in this little tiny corner down here in the western part of the state. Our numbers in Cheshire County are very low. So maybe that's why I have a more safe feeling in terms of doing outdoor projects than if I were in Nashua. That certainly is a much bigger carry than what I have here. Also, like I said, I don't have to worry about the financial as much. I don't have a big payroll. I don't have a building and all of that stuff. So I know that we will continue. And so I'm already planning for a pandemic through next summer. I'm hoping, and then if I'm wrong, I'll go, yay, that's great. And then looking to next, like Christmas time, like a year from now, that I'm hoping we can be back indoors. But I just really wanted to say I loved hearing from all of you, and good luck to just all of you. And it really, I have to say it again, it really is. It's you all in your communities that will get the communities through this. Yes, in partnership with businesses and everything, but we can't deny how important the arts are for our soul, for our inner core. And yay for our students, yay for our audience, yay for all of our artists that keep going forward. It was really easy to think about pausing and just waiting. And then you realize, no, you can't wait. You got to go forward, and you got to use this and see it as a challenge that we're up for and we can do. So yay, all of you.
Thank you, Deborah. Well said. Well said. Gail.
Hi,
Yes.
Jen.
Oh,
So I think you all heard that I'm also the managing partner of the Picker Artists, and we are 9 studios and 12 artists. And of course now, as Marc had said, this thing is kind of dragging on for us. And our next focus is how do we make the Christmas season, which is the reason a lot of us, can make enough money to pay our rent the whole year through the Christmas season. So how do we get past this? How do we get the Christmas season? How do we get people to come shopping? People are so used to going online and shopping, and I need them to come in. We need them to come in here. We need to pay our rent, and we need to get our arts and our crafts shown. And that's another big question, is how do we, as you know, what we do as far as the symposium, my sculpture symposium, and everybody else is amazing things that we're talking about here. Just the retail arts in Nashua, which is my business. How do we do this? How do we get, you know, my tenants to be able to have people come in and feel comfortable coming in and buy our wares and support us so we can stay. So that's another just kind of a thought that is a huge concern for us.
Yeah, I understand. Absolutely.
So I just throwing that out there too, you know, how do we get through this holiday season? You know, we're all talking like our sculpture symposium will be next summer, but how do I get to next summer?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And we are hopeful that we will be doing a couple of roundtables like this with individual artists to talk about just those things and how individual artists of all disciplines are navigating their careers in this time. So stay tuned for that. Gail, I'll be coming back to you for sure on that.
Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome. And so it is 20 after 12. And so I'd like to open it up if anyone has anything else they'd like to ask. Yes, Allison, you're going to need to unmute.
Yes, very nice, very inspired by everybody here and very excited. There's a lot to learn. I'm going to visit your websites to see how you're actually making all this manifest to people who visit your websites now that are so important, as well as how that might help draw new people in who haven't learned of you before. I would be very interested if we would have an upcoming talk, because my sense is this is one pandemic. There may be other pandemics. We're learning so much, as Deborah said. How can we toggle back and forth? How can we use one to enhance the other in terms of virtual and actual presence? And how can we continue to reach out to people like Andy's Playhouse in order to have more dynamic programs? So I would love to have another one of these sometime if others are interested. So that's it, and I'm taking myself out.
Absolutely, Allison. I think these are ongoing conversations. And I think one of the things that we've learned in these first 5 conversations is that organizations and individual artists that are adding more experience in the virtual realm are very well aware that that's not going to go away, that when we get on the other side of this particular pandemic, that a lot of that virtual presence will stay because they are reaching people well beyond their traditional audiences. And you know, and that's really, really positive. And we've also, as a state arts agency, learned through these last many months that using the virtual realm to convene folks has been very, very helpful. And I think I am finding that the arts community in New Hampshire is more connected to itself, to each other, than they ever have been. And part of that is because we have the benefit of this technology. And I think we're recognizing the importance of those connections in a way that I don't think any of us were really aware of before. And so, yes, I promise you there will be many more of these conversations coming, and we'd actually love to get Jared involved to show us his platform and how that platform is working, not just for Andy's Playhouse, but also for other organizations. Thank you.
I forgot to introduce myself. I work for Electric Earth Concerts, so that's the final thing I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order, as Roger would say?
I'd like to comment on what Allison said. Again, a silver lining maybe of this situation has been forcing us to look beyond the concert hall and figuring out how to be available and present online. And you're right, that's not something that will go away with the pandemic. It's something we should have been doing and will continue to do. I mean, talk about a stodgy group of traditionalists, orchestra musicians who want to wear tuxedos and tails, which the servant class in the 1900s or 1800s wore. We still insist on wearing those in concerts and expect to connect with the 21st century audience. So, you know, this is forcing us to evolve and look at the 21st century and how do we connect with people online, and that will, I think, be important from now on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marc.
Mhm.
Well, thank you
I
all.
have a suggestion. This is Marina Forbes. Hello? Is it too late?
Nope, go ahead, Marina. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hi. My name is Marina Forbes, and I do humanities presentations on Russian arts and culture like Fabergé, Imperial Easter eggs. It can be hands-on painting experience on painting Russian nested dolls. It can be dramatic presentation of Russian fairy tales. But this is my suggestion. Recently, I've been participating in all kinds of symposiums all over the world, like Vienna, Austria, and they would start 9 in the morning Vienna time, which is 3 in the morning American time, or Zagreb, Slovenia, but I was so dedicated. So my proposal is, I really miss Art Conference, our annual, beautiful, well-prepared, exciting, thought-provoking annual conference. And I just wonder, I know it might be money and tons of effort, but what if we try to recreate something online, bring art teachers, bring artists, bring all these wonderful people from all kinds of different venues doing keynote speakers, doing something so people would feel like they can benefit a lot staying in their own studios. And also it will give them the sense of camaraderie and belonging and togetherness and learning, because you can learn so much and people are so eager to learn and share. So it's just suggestion, because I miss those wonderful opportunities so much.
Sure, Marina. Completely understand, and you should know that this was the off year. Our arts education partnership conferences have gone to an every other year format, and this was actually the off year this year. But we are definitely, as a team, talking about how we can convene folks in other ways. I know that the New Hampshire Arts Learning Network is looking at this as well. And you can be sure that there will be a lot of opportunities for folks to connect as we go through the end of this year and into 2021. And in 2021, we will be planning the Arts Education Partnership Conference. And who knows, it may end up being virtual as well next fall. But you're right, Marina. I think people really are hungry for connection, and we're doing our absolute best to try to make that happen.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So with that said, does anyone else have any final words before we say good afternoon?
Thanks for doing this, Ginny.
Oh, no, you're welcome, Karla. And panelists, thank you. You are amazing and inspiring, and we learn so much from you every day.
We're lucky to have you, Ginny. We know it.
Ginny.
We know it. We're lucky to have you, and we know it.
Thank you so much. You are too kind.
Thank you.
Everyone be well, be healthy, and we will see each other again very soon. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Be well.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.